Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. We're back in the saddle. Alright, just had some coconut cream pie, was delicious, and I'm very happy. So we're continuing our reading of Friedrich Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra. We were digging into the number of Zarathustra's speeches of the three metamorphoses. Alright, let's begin. But say, my brothers, what can the child do that even the lion could not do? Why must the praying lion still become a child? Okay, so I think that's a little bit strange. I don't see the comparison, but let's see if he enlightens us. The child is innocence and forgetting, a new beginning, a game, a self-propelled wheel, a first movement, a sacred yes. For the game of creation, my brothers, a sacred yes is needed. Okay, so he has here, for the game of creation, seeing it as a game. Self-propelled, the child is motivated by curiosity, you'd argue, but the lion by hunger, unless you're comparing maybe a baby cub, right? I'm not sure where he's getting at with that. My brothers, a sacred yes is needed. The spirit now wills his own will. Okay, so look at that. His own will. And he who had been lost to the world now conquers his own world. Okay, so being lost to the world, now your will has its own will, and you will conquer due to that, he contends. Of the three metamorphoses of the spirit, I have told you how the spirit became a camel, and the camel a lion, and the lion finally a child. I think that was just kind of a little bit strange. The camel, and those are all very different animals, but Thus spoke Zarathustra, and at that time he sojourned into the town that is called the Motley Cow. Okay, the Motley Cow. Let's see what happens over there. On the teachers of virtue, a sage was praised to Zarathustra for knowing how to speak well of sleep and of virtue. Okay, so he knows how to tell people how to fall asleep and how to keep themselves pious and noble. He was said to be honored and rewarded highly for this, and all the youths were said to be sitting at his feet. To him Zarathustra went. Alright, so he's going to seek out the local sage. Let's see what happens. And he sat at his feet with all the youths, and thus spoke the sage. Honor sleep, and be bashful before it, that first of all, and avoid all who sleep badly and stay awake at night. Now let's think about that advice for a second. Being bashful before sleep, so just really looking at it, not trying to run away from it, really kind of sounds like you're playing coy with it. To honor sleep is to really respect it. I used to have really big disagreements with one of my coworkers back in the day because he used to brag about how he would only get 4 hours or 3 hours of sleep, and I would be like, that deteriorates your brain, it can bring on dementia, it weakens your immune system, it's really not healthy to stay up at night. I have to force myself sometimes to go to sleep because I'll be totally nerding out on something, and when I wake up in the morning, you're more irritable, irritated, sounds hurt your ears, you're not the same. But if I force myself to go to bed after Isha prayer, sometimes Isha prayers are like 7, right? So if it's like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock max, just go to bed, whatever I gotta do, deal with it tomorrow. Wake up with a sort of buoyancy energy that really helps. And you have more energy. It's really interesting because today people have kind of like, just drink Red Bulls, drink Rock Stars, power through, don't sleep, grind. But we know that you kind of burn out and gas, Before a very important test, it's important to make sure you get your sleep. Make sure you're actually doing what it is that needs to be done. So when he says avoid all who sleep badly, they're going to be irritable and more mean, essentially, right? I knew a bartender, man, he rarely slept. He's working double shifts, always in a bad mood, you know? And those people, when you see them, when you're about to clock in, you're just like, this guy again. It really drags your day down. You could be having a great day, and then you see that coworker, and then you're like, I don't really like this guy, man. And also, if someone's staying awake all the time at night, they could be kind of a night owl. And when you become hyper focused on being a night owl instead of being kind of like a day bird, you have different personalities. Like when I worked in a breakfast place, there was, different energy of women who were awake in the morning, go to bed, they're family women. Then the night crowd, when I used to work night shifts, it's more of like the very, provocative cocktail circle at night. It's very different, and for them, the party's just starting like at 10, Very different type of outlook on life, different type of scheduling, what they're interested in. So maybe he has a point. What do you think? Even the thief is bashful before sleep. He always steals silently through the night. Shameless, however, is the watchman of the night. Shamelessly he carries his horn. Okay, so notice this distinction here. So the thief doesn't want to wake someone up, whereas the watchman wants to alert. What's interesting is the thief is doing something bad, so he doesn't want to be woken up, but the watchman is doing something good to wake people up at seeing a thief, seeing somebody who's going to do something bad. So, you kind of compare those two, right? Sleeping is no mean art. For its sake, one must stay awake all day. That's kind of interesting. For the sake of sleep, you have to stay awake all day. Because if you take too long of a cat nap, you'll disturb your sleep cycle. I think mothers really understand this when it comes to their kids, right? If you let your kid take a nap at 5 o'clock, they sleep till 6:30, then you want to put them to bed at 9, it's going to be difficult because they're not going to have this sort of exhaustion. And if you want to give them a nap, it should be around 12 or 1, right? So they can still tucker themselves out during the day. Really just kind of shows you like, yeah. 10 times a day you must overcome yourself. That makes you good and tired, and it is opium for the soul. Yeah, I mean, the opium sort of numbing yourself, making you tired. It's very good to make yourself tired like that. I agree. 10 times you must reconcile yourself again with yourself, for overcoming is bitterness. Overcoming is bitterness. What do you think? Because you kind of look back on it and you're like, I had to overcome that. Sometimes, right? The degree of how you look at it. And the unreconciled sleep badly. Yeah. Hey, think about what he just said there. Overcoming is bitterness, and the unreconciled sleep badly. So if you're unreconciled, you had a bad day, you haven't come to terms with what happened, you're going to be thinking about it all night, you're not going to sleep good. But if you overcome that and say, I'm just going to let it go to sleep. I think we've all had that, where we've both had the point where we couldn't let something go. Either it was overly positive or overly negative. We're dwelling on it. But then other times you're like, I'll just think about it tomorrow. It's time for bed. I think that's the distinction. Very interesting, right? 10 truths a day you must find. So notice this. So 10 times a day you must overcome. The number 10, it's like kind of keeps coming up here. So 10 times a day you must overcome yourself. Then 10 truths a day you must find. Interesting. Else you will still be seeking truth by night. Now notice that. That's pretty interesting. We are kind of seekers ourselves. We want to figure things out. I know I wake up in that day like I need to learn something. I need to go about and kind of focus on something. You want to feel like you've achieved something. You want to come to the end of something, a realization of some sort. So this truth that he's actually pointing us out to is interesting. If you don't feel like you've had a fulfilled day, you go to sleep still curiously wondering. I've definitely had that before. I don't know if you have, but I see what he's getting at here. If you don't find a certain truth, by the time it's go to bed, you don't go to bed with the same accomplishment feeling inside. Very interesting. And your soul will remain hungry. Yeah, you should be exhausted right? You should be like, oh, I had a long day, got a lot done, just banging it out. You want to feel fulfilled, and you want to, as he said, reconciled over something so that you can go to sleep. 10 times a day you must laugh and be cheerful. So here we have laughs, cheerful. This has been very difficult for many people to do because of how the media, and especially left-wing media, is constantly fear-mongering people into deep paranoia, severe paranoia. And you're like, calm down. Like, it's always the end of the world. There's always alarmism. When now there are things you have to worry about, no doubt. But then it was like, everyone's gonna die, everybody. Like, it's just like, whoa, calm down, right? Instead of solutions, it's only like, gosh, oh, everything is overwhelmed, everything is falling apart. It's like, how badly is it for people to laugh and they're telling you, don't visit your grandparents, don't travel, don't go for the holidays, don't do this, don't. It's like they're isolating you, keeping you alone, bombarding you with fear, taking your school away, your job away. You know, it's really quite intense, trying to turn you against your neighbor over a procedure. It's very hard for people to laugh and be cheerful. So you have to be able to find the contentment many ways. Make sure you go out into neighbor. You're a little bit online. Make sure you follow a little bit of humor pages that are halal. Have a hobby. You gotta find the cheer. It's a very good point. Very good point, I'd say. Else you will be disturbed at night by your stomach, this father of gloom. So your stomach being a father of gloom, look at that. Few know it, but one must have all the virtues to sleep well. Shall I bear false witness? Shall I commit adultery? Shall I covet my neighbor's maid? All that would go ill with good sleep. Very good point. So you need to be virtuous, not to lie, lust over your neighbor's wife. Essentially, really reform your character so that you can sleep well. You ever heard the saying, how do you sleep at night? Right? If someone's done something bad, they get told that. And this is something that he's getting at. Wow. And even if one has all the virtues, there is one further thing one must know. To send even the virtues to sleep at the right time, lest they quarrel with each other. The fair little women about you, child of misfortune. Peace with God and the neighbor. Peace with God and the neighbor. You ever had this disturbance with your neighbor? You fought, their leaves of their tree fell in your yard, or, their cat keeps, digging up your garden, whatever, or your dog gets out, takes a poop right in your driveway, something happens. They, playing baseball, hits your window. Go to peace at night and don't be overly angry at your neighbor. I've worked on that myself when my loud neighbors, some of them from Brazil, they play music a little late at night, where you're like, hey, it's 9 o'clock, stop it. And like they just blast in the music, or it's just so loud you feel like you're literally with them, and you're like, okay, just gonna try to close the windows, turn the fan on, and hopefully be able to fall asleep. Put on my phone the sound of rain, and let's just go to bed. And I'll guide them. Like, don't go to bed too angry at them, right? Even though they're being quite annoying. So I think that's another good aspect. And then peace with God. I think that's kind of a Christian angle, but I would say that I would put it as hoping that Allah is pleased with me. Like, I've done my prayers. I've tried to, fix my mistakes, ask for repentance, like I've asked for forgiveness and such, and, kept my wudu up and done all the recitations you do before bed, right? Stuff like that. That's how I would say peace with God, is how I put it. How would you put it? That is what good sleep demands, and peace even with the neighbor's devil, else he will haunt you at night. Yeah, the anger just kind of always there, just kind of looming in your mind. You're unable to push it out and get away from it. Very good point. What do you think? So 10 times a day you must overcome yourself. 10 truths a day you must find. 10 times a day you must laugh and be cheerful. So honor sleep, be bashful before it. And now let's all go take a nap. Just kidding. Awesome. I mean, I love my bed, you know? I'm very thankful when I go to sleep. And we women have like pillows, and we like big old comforters, and you're snuggly like a little burrito in your bed. It's very peaceful, you know? Even sometimes have good night's rest on the floor. If you lay on your stomach, you just feel very leveled out. So, all these different ways you can sleep well. So, make sure you don't stay up too late, and definitely don't be scrolling at like 2 a.m. You know what I'm saying?